Imagine, if you will, spending something in the neighborhood of 200 million credits.
Right. Which is just a staggering amount of money.
Oh, totally. Just an unfathomable amount. And imagine intentionally collapsing an entire planetary economy, like weaponizing a station's legal department against itself.
Yeah, literally using their own bureaucracy to strangle them.
Exactly. And then instigating a localized, highly destructive border war between rival factions. And doing all of that, like orchestrating this massive galaxy-spanning symphony of chaos, essentially just to hide a baby monitor.
It is, it's the ultimate disproportionate response, right? It's a masterclass in operational paranoia.
Right. I mean, when you first sent us this document, and I'm talking directly to you, our listener who submitted this, I have to admit, I looked at the title. It was just called A New Way.pdf.
Yeah, very unassuming title.
Very.
Yeah.
And I saw it was about space pirates, and I just thought, okay, well, we're doing pulp sci-fi today, you know, lasers, explosions, maybe a rogue asteroid or something.
Right, the standard tropes.
Yeah, exactly. But you knew exactly what you were doing when you sent this our way. Because underneath all the neon in the starships, what you actually handed us is this terrifyingly accurate economics masterclass.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's all wrapped up in this massive philosophical nightmare.
It really is a wolf in sheep's clothing because on its surface, it chronicles the exploits of this independent operator named Derek Senka.
Right, who goes by the call sign Rook.
Exactly, Rook. But what the author is actually doing here is using this hyper-detailed, gritty sci-fi setting to run a stress test on some of the most complex concepts we have in the real world.
Like what?
Well, like predatory market dynamics, for one, and the impenetrable nature of shell corporations, and then ultimately the ship of Theseus paradox, but applied to human consciousness.
Yeah, and the ship of Theseus. I mean, that's the idea that if you replace every single piece of wooden ship over time, board by board, is it still the exact same ship?
Right. It's a classic thought experiment.
And we are definitely going to hit a staggering, like floor-dropping plot twist regarding Rook's very existence that tackles exactly that. But before we get to the existential dread, we really need to talk about the unifying thesis of this entire document.
Which is pretty heavy on its own.
Yeah, it seems to be, what is the actual mathematical cost of buying back your own humanity? And to really understand the heights of Rook's master plan, I mean, we have to start at the absolute bottom.
We do. And in this universe, the bottom has a specific name and, honestly, a very distinct smell.
Oh, man, yeah.
The text introduces us to this place called Raven's Haven.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We open in what is essentially this deep space drug den. And the sensory details the author uses here are just suffocating.
Oh, very visceral.
Yeah, it's thick with the pungent smell of narcotics, right? It's bathed in this low light, and it's filled with people in various states of undress and chemical stupor.
Just absolute chaos.
Absolute chaos. It is a den of absolute iniquity. And it's run by this pirate faction leader named Raven. And when we first meet Raven, she is currently trying very, very hard to seduce Rook.
Right, and we really need to look at the mechanics of why she is trying to seduce him. Because, this isn't romance.
No, not at all.
This is retention. You see, the text establishes that Rook's star has risen in a single cycle, which, by the way, is a massive operational leap. He has completely eliminated a rival commander.
Ow, just taking him off the board completely.
Exactly. He took Raven's pirate faction from the absolute bottom of the system's influence rankings all the way to third in succession.
Which makes him a huge asset.
Right. He is a lethal, highly effective asset. Raven recognizes that, and she knows she needs to leash him.
But the way she tries to leash him is so revealing about her own operational mindset. Like, she's pacing around him, and the text says her eyes are clouded, but sparking with lust.
But not just carnal lust, right?
Exactly. It's a lust for influence and, black market profit.
Yeah.
She's literally breathing on his neck, gesturing to this entire room full of half-conscious people, and essentially offering him whatever or whoever he wants.
Yeah, she tells him surely that much effort has earned some relaxation.
Right. And what's fascinating here is the stark dichotomy the author sets up in this very first scene. I mean, look at the architecture of Raven's power. It is entirely rooted in base human biology.
Yes. She controls her faction through intoxication, addiction, just the promise of excess.
It's all very primal.
It is. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Raven operates strictly at the bottom. She weaponizes physiological and safety needs to maintain this cult of personality.
But I'm reading this, and Rick's reaction is just completely jarring to me. He is standing in the middle of this debauched, Roman bacchanal, and he just stares at her with zero inflection.
Total deadpan.
Literally total deadpan. And he says, yes, your star has risen, but I will rest after I've showered and eaten.
Which is just a brutal rejection in that context.
It is. She even pushes back, noting she knows he has a, quote, companion waiting for him on a ship. And she tries to tempt him by saying doing the same thing gets so boring. And then Rook drops this incredible line.
Oh, I love this part.
He looks right into her dilated pupils and says, being boring keeps me efficient.
And that right there, that is the thesis statement for Rook's methodology.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He recognizes that Raven's offer isn't actually a reward. To him, it's a structural vulnerability.
Interesting.
Because if he partakes in the chaos of flesh and drugs, he becomes predictable. He becomes controllable by his own dopamine receptors.
I mean, I have to push back on this a little, though.
Sure, go ahead.
Because reading this, it feels almost absurd. It's like, walking into a Vegas casino, getting called into the back room by the mob boss who hands you the keys to the penthouse, stack of chicks, and an open bar.
Right.
And you just look at them and ask for a glass of room temperature tap water.
It's definitely an extreme reaction.
Right. So I found myself asking, is Rook just an ascetic monk in space? Like, does he just lack a biological drive, or is there a much bigger game being played here?
There is absolutely a bigger game, and it's all about control over variables. Rook's power comes from intense discipline and this almost fanatical reliance on advanced technology over human unreliability.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and when he finally gets out of Raven's Haven, and I love how the text uses the phrase, make good my escape from her own private Sodom and Gomorrah, he heads straight back to his ship.
And the transition from that station to his ship is just whiplash-inducing.
Oh, completely.
He literally strips his clothes off on the way from the airlock to the shower because the stench of Raven Station has just permeated the fabric.
He wants to scrub the humanity off of him.
Yeah, he genuinely debates if throwing his jacket out into the vacuum of space would be kinder than trying to wash it. And this is where we transition into the highly controlled environment of his ship, and we meet his crew.
Though, calling them a crew feels totally inadequate once you realize what they actually are.
Precisely. We are introduced to Easy and Sola. Let's examine Easy first. Easy stands for Echo Zero. He is a highly realistic, purpose-built humanoid android.
And the narrative specifies he was built to Rook's exact custom specifications, right?
Yeah, and the financial cost of that customization was astronomical. But the author does a great job of grounding the sci-fi tropes here. Because they sit down to eat, right?
Yes.
Rook is eating a normal meal, like meat and vegetables. And Easy sits down next to him and starts eating what Rook describes as looking like baby food.
Right, it's a brilliant detail, because Easy isn't just plugging into a wall socket to recharge. He actually requires a mineral and energy-rich organic mixture to sustain his biosynthetic systems.
So it's like a bridge.
Exactly. It bridges the gap between machine and biology.
But if Easy is the bridge, Sola is an entirely different paradigm.
Oh, completely.
The text is very clear that she is not an android. She's a rare, fully functional, biomorphic replicant. And Rook notes that her cost makes Easy look like pocket change.
Let's break down what a biomorphic replicant actually means in the context of this universe, because it's not just magic sci-fi jargon.
Please do, because it sounded very technical.
Well, the text mentions she utilizes an advanced synthetic structure and electroactive polymers.
Wait, hold on. Electroactive polymers. I mean, I know what a polymer is, basically plastic, but what does making it electroactive actually do? Like, how does that replace a bicep?
It's actually a field of material science we are researching heavily today in the real world. Think of dielectric elastomers.
Dielectric what?
Elastomers. They are smart materials that can change their size or shape when stimulated by an electric field.
Okay.
So in a human body, your brain sends an electrical signal through your nervous system to a muscle, and the muscle contracts. An electroactive polymer mimics that exact mechanism, but with synthetic materials.
Oh, wow. So it's literally artificial muscle.
Yes, it provides the density, the flexibility, and the contraction force of human muscle, but with vastly greater durability.
So she isn't built with gears and servos like a traditional robot. She's built with synthetic tissues that react to electrical impulses just like ours do.
Exactly. So her physical durability far exceeds a top-of-the-line combat droid, but her movements are fluid. They're entirely natural. But the most crucial detail the author gives us is actually about her mind.
Right.
Rook explicitly states that her emotions are not programmed mimicry. They aren't algorithms executing a quote-unquote smile subroutine. They are real, biologically developed neural pathways.
And you feel that immediately in their dialogue. Like they've clearly been together for years. She teases him about smelling like a drug den. She eats normal food and just wolfs it down. She blows him a kiss.
It's very domestic.
It is. It is this massive, jarring contrast to that first scene. On the human-run station, you have real biological humans behaving like mindless automated animals driven by chemical addiction.
Yes.
But here on the ship, you have synthetic, manufactured beings exhibiting genuine affection, complex logic, and deep loyalty.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains Rook's earlier asceticism perfectly. He surrounds himself with the artificial because he finds the organic humanity in its natural state to be fundamentally repulsive. He sees it as chaotic and untrustworthy.
Which perfectly sets up why he is about to go to war the way he does. Because, as you pointed out, he isn't just running errands for Raven, he is orchestrating a massive campaign.
He really is.
And here's where it gets really interesting. You, the listener, probably thought a space pirate story would feature broadsides and laser cannons and dogfights.
That would be the expectation.
Right? But Rook doesn't fight with torpedoes. He fights with spreadsheets, cargo manifests, and legal filings.
It is the complete weaponization of bureaucracy and economics. I mean, it's a bloodless but totally devastating form of combat.
Okay, so let's look at the mechanics of this initial scheme.
Yeah.
Rook is at dinner with Sola and EZ, and he just casually mentions they have 200 tons of free cargo space on their transport ship.
Just burning a hole in his pocket, essentially.
Yeah. So he proposes they go to the local industrialists' market, the wealthy, legitimate faction on the station, and buy up their scrap metal. Now, this industrialist faction is basically a mining and manufacturing conglomerate.
Right.
Scrap is a natural byproduct for them, and they already produce so much of it they have a hard time getting rid of it.
Now, EZ, who processes the world purely through logic and algorithmic efficiency, hits a wall here.
Yeah, he does not get it.
He asks Rook why they would buy a low-value commodity just to turn around and sell it on the station's black market at a guaranteed financial loss.
Which makes sense.
From a traditional accounting perspective, yeah, it violates every basic rule of commerce.
Right. I was totally with EZ on this. If you buy high and sell low, you go broke. That's just math. But Sola smiles because she immediately grasps the devious intent.
She gets the bigger picture.
She does. Rook explains that by selling this scrap at a loss to Raven's black market, he is going to flood the industrialists' own station with a byproduct they're already choking on.
Let's really dissect the economic mechanics of this because it's brilliant. When you artificially inflate the supply of a commodity, even a byproduct like scrap, on a local black market, you are doing several things simultaneously.
Okay, what's the first thing?
First, you are undercutting whatever legitimate avenues the industrialists have for offloading that scrap. Their profit margins on that byproduct drop to absolute zero.
But wait, scrap is a byproduct. They make their real money on the high-end industrial goods. Right?
Yes.
So how does hurting their scrap sales actually damage the conglomerate in a meaningful way?
Because of the secondary effects, specifically insurance and security liabilities.
Oh, okay.
Think about it. By pumping massive volumes of unregulated material into the station's ecosystem via the black market, Rook is forcing the station's security apparatus to work overtime.
Right. More contraband means more cops.
Exactly. When black market activity spikes, the risk profile of the entire station increases. The insurance underwriters for the industrialist faction will see this heightened risk and immediately raise their premiums.
Oh, wow. So the insurance cost goes up, and the industrialists have to transfer that new massive overhead cost into the price of their legitimate goods.
Right. They have to offset the loss somewhere.
Which makes their main products less competitive on the overall galactic market.
Precisely. It is predatory pricing used as a direct instrument of sabotage. But the true beauty of it is that it's entirely legal. He is just a trader making bad deals.
Well, it's mostly legal until a station inspector catches on.
Yes, the inspector adds a fun wrinkle to the plan.
Right, so this inspector guy corners Rook in the hangar bay. Rook is looking at a floating holographic data pad, and the inspector just starts grilling him.
He wants answers.
Yeah, he demands to know why Rook is flying under the banner of a company called Nightcore, and why he's continually importing and dumping scrap at a loss in a market that is already totally saturated.
And this is where Rook's mastery of human psychology really comes into play. because he doesn't act like a criminal mastermind.
None at all.
He immediately code switches into the role of a dumb, overworked, blue-collar space trucker. He sighs, throws his hands up, and says, "You think the suits ever tell me anything? I just fly where the nav computer says."
He leans so hard into the stereotype of the clueless contractor. Like, he plays it perfectly. But the inspector isn't totally buying it.
No, he's suspicious.
He threatens Rook. He says, if you fly another shipment of scrap into this station, I will personally fine you and impound this ship pending a full corporate inquiry.
Which is a real threat.
It is. But Rook just fakes a huff, stumps back up the ramp for the benefit of the security cameras, and the absolute second the hatch seals shut, his demeanor entirely flips.
The mask comes off.
Exactly. He turns to Easy and says, prepare an official petition for relief against monopolistic procurement and add a blanket motion for compulsory disclosure.
And this specific moment is why this text is so remarkable to me. Rook doesn't escalate physically. He doesn't shoot the inspector.
Right, which most space pirates would do.
Exactly. Instead, he uses the station's own legal infrastructure to strangle them with their own red tape. He has Easy route this massive legal petition through Night Corps.
Okay, we really have to talk about Night Corps because my jaw actually dropped reading the description of this entity.
It's quite the setup.
It isn't a real company. Rook describes it to his crew as a disposable, translucent umbrella covering a collection of chameleons. It is a labyrinth of shell companies, held in trust by a cycle of phantom executives.
So let's explain what a shell company structure like this actually achieves in the real world. A shell company is a corporate entity that exists primarily on paper. It has no active business operations or significant assets of its own.
Just a file in a drawer somewhere.
Right. And what Rook has built is a nested Russian doll of these entities. So Company A is owned by Company B, which is held in a blind trust by Company C in a jurisdiction with strict corporate secrecy laws.
But how does that actually stop an inspector? Like, if the inspector physically impounds the ship on the docking pad, he has the ship. Why does the paperwork matter?
Because of that motion for compulsory disclosure, Rook isn't just hiding, he's actively attacking. By filing a mathematically complex, highly technical lawsuit accusing the station of monopolistic practices, he forces the station's legal department to respond.
Okay.
In corporate law, this is a form of paper terrorism or lawfare.
Lawfare, wow.
Yes. The station's lawyers now have to spend thousands of billable hours and massive resources just to figure out who is actually suing them before they can even begin to address the scrap metal issue.
So he's essentially launching a denial of service attack, but against human lawyers instead of a computer server.
Exactly. He is tying up their administrative bandwidth so completely that the inspector's physical threat becomes totally irrelevant. They won't let the inspector act until the legal mess is sorted.
But I was thinking about this, and I wondered, what if they actually trace it back?
Yeah.
What if some brilliant, obsessive investigator spends months following the paper trail through the chameleons and the ghosts? Like, what do they actually find at the end of the labyrinth?
Well, if they somehow pierce the corporate veil, they don't find a bank account.
No.
No, they find a sovereign capital class asset, a massive fleet carrier sitting silent in a dark, uninhabited system. A ship that can change its transponder registry on a whim and just jump into hyperspace long before any enforcement vessel could ever reach it.
Man. Sola actually laughs at him when he issues the legal order. She pins him against the bulkhead, kisses him, and says, "You're so cute when you go out of your way to strangle the station's legal department with their own ties."
She loves it.
She does. And she knows this lawsuit is just a bureaucratic smokescreen. It's stalling tactics. Because annoying a single inspector and filing a frivolous lawsuit is just the
It's
appetizer.
a warm-up act.
Exactly. Rook takes this concept of economic sabotage to a rival star system to scale up the damage to a planetary level.
And the transition from micro-sabotage to macroeconomic warfare is seamless. He travels to a neighboring star system, one whose primary export is atmospheric processors.
Crucially, this system is a direct corporate rival to the industrialists he's been harassing with the scrap metal, right?
Yes, that is the key component here.
And word travels incredibly fast. Like, within an hour of Easy filing that Night Corps lawsuit, long-range communications were flying between systems. The rivals in this new system know exactly who Rook is.
Or at least who he appears to be.
Right, who he appears to be.
Yeah.
A massive thorn in their competitor's side. So Rook is just standing in line at a normal commodities exchange kiosk, and two massive corporate security bruisers just pull him out of line.
They escort him away from the grimy industrial sector, taking an elevator up to the pristine outer rings of the station where the executives live with Earth-standard gravity.
Very fancy.
Very. And a corporate executive offers Rook an astonishing deal. He gives him front-of-the-line access to atmospheric processors and a flat 10% discount on all orders over 100 tons.
Because they think he works for them. Or rather, they think he is a highly motivated independent contractor actively trying to bankrupt their enemy. They want to arm him.
They want to give him the bullets to shoot their rival.
Yeah. And Rook just stands there. He feigns this muted blue-collar shock, letting the executive project all of his own corporate paranoia and greed right onto him.
It is a brilliant application of psychological conditioning. Rook manipulated their perception of the battlefield to secure a massive supply chain advantage.
It's masterful.
But here's the critical pivot. Rook has no loyalty to this executive either. The moment his cargo bays are full of those discounted processors, he leaves the station and immediately has Sola contact Raven's pirate fleet.
Right, his old boss.
He sets up a rendezvous in deep space, completely off the grid.
And this is where the math, like the pure, ruthless math of his plan, gets so incredibly satisfying to read.
It's a great sequence.
So he meets with a seasoned pirate captain under Raven's banner. He sets up a shuttle service. Rook buys the processors with his 10% discount. He flies them to the middle of nowhere. He lets the pirates, quote-unquote, steal the cargo from him. The pirates then take those high-value goods back to the target industrialist station and dump them on the legitimate markets through back channels.
To truly appreciate the scale of this operation, we need to look at the currency of the transaction. Because Rook isn't paying these pirates in standard galactic credits.
No, he's not.
He pays them in tritium. Specifically, 2 tons of tritium per cargo run.
Wait, I had to stop and reread this part when I first went through it. He is paying a mercenary pirate fleet in spaceship fuel. Like, why would they accept that instead of cash?
Because of the market liquidity of tritium. Let's do the math the text provides. For the pirates, 2 tons of tritium at the local market average nets them 107,962 credits per run.
Okay, 100 grand.
Right. And if a pirate crew can execute 4 runs a day, they are clearing roughly 431,848 credits daily.
Wow.
For an independent, ragged band of pirates, that is astronomical, life-changing money. They are highly incentivized to keep the operation running smoothly.
Okay, so the pirates are getting rich. But how does this not bankrupt Rook? I mean, he's giving away hundreds of thousands of credits worth of fuel a day.
Because to Rook, the tritium is virtually free.
Free.
Yes. The narrative reveals that he has over 11,000 tons of tritium stored safely on his capital ship.
Huh?
He didn't buy it. He mined it himself from pristine, icy planetary rings.
Oh my God.
So he is financing the destruction of a corporate empire using the equivalent of pocket lint.
It's mind-blowing. When you sent this, you highlighted this section, and I was trying to find a real-world equivalent for you, the listener. It's a bit like shorting a stock on Wall Street.
Right.
But with a violently physical twist.
That's a good way to look at it.
Like when you short a stock, you borrow shares, sell them, and bet the company's value will go down so you can buy them back cheaper.
Right.
Rook is making that exact bet.
Yes.
But then, to ensure he wins the bet, he is actively hiring local street gangs to go throw rocks through the company's windows, burn their delivery trucks, and sell stolen merchandise in their own parking lot.
That is a highly accurate, if aggressive, analogy. He is completely bypassing the industrialists' carefully managed supply chain and injecting high-value goods into the market at severely depressed prices.
And EZ, the android, almost suffers a literal neurological collapse trying to process this logic.
Poor Easy.
Yeah. Sola has to sit him down and project holographic flowcharts just to explain the math.
Yeah.
Because Rook tells them he is weaponizing the galactic averages.
Right.
By continually flooding the market with these discounted goods via the pirates, he forces the industrialists to devalue their entire economy just to compete with the black market.
If you lower their prices to match the stolen goods.
Exactly. And the text notes their public approval rating plummets from 60% down to a catastrophic 38%.
The societal infrastructure of the station begins to collapse. We learn that a workers' union is preparing to strike and potentially seize control of the system due to the economic instability.
Complete turmoil.
Complete turmoil. And Sola observes this and asks Rook a very pertinent political question. She asks, is he planning to use this chaos to put Raven, the drug-addicted pirate lord, back in power?
And Rook just glances up from his datapad, perfectly calm, and says no. He has absolutely no interest in being a kingmaker. He tells Sola he just wanted to shake the ladder, knock out a few rungs, and let evolution take its course.
Which raises an incredibly important question about Rook's ultimate motivation. If he doesn't care about the politics of the system,
Right.
if he isn't allied with the rival corporation, and he isn't trying to elevate Raven, why go through this elaborate, highly illegal, multi-system charade?
Because it's a pump-and-dump scheme in reverse. The text reveals his endgame. Once the industrialist market hits absolute rock bottom, once they're desperately undercutting their own margins, their currency and commodities are effectively worthless to everyone else.
It's a little crash.
A total crash. But to Rook, who has massive wealth stored securely off-grid, it's a fire sale. He plans to swoop back in, buy up their radically devalued assets for pennies on the dollar, wait for the market to eventually stabilize, and flip his initial minor losses into unfathomable profits.
He is operating as a one-man localized economic recession. He artificially breaks an economy, profits immensely off the ruins, and simply moves on.
But the wealth he is amassing isn't for luxury. I mean, he isn't buying penthouses or sports ships. He is funding something deeply personal, highly illegal, and technologically staggering.
Yes.
Which brings us out of the grimy stations and into the sanctuary where he hides it all.
Yes, the capital ship. This is where the narrative really shifts from an economic thriller to a profound exploration of sovereignty and law. Rook returns to his fleet carrier, and the author drops a massive piece of lore regarding his relationship with Sola.
Oh, yeah.
We learn that they are legally married.
But not under the laws of the Federation or the Empire or any planetary government.
Exactly. They are married under the ancient maritime laws of his own sovereign flag. Because Rook is the sole owner, operator, and captain of this independent carrier, and because it operates in deep space outside planetary jurisdiction, he is the de facto sovereign of his own flying nation-state.
He's his own country.
Essentially, yes. He officiated his own wedding. He explicitly notes that the laws of the stars follow the ancient maritime laws of old Earth.
Let's talk about the real-world equivalent of this, because I found this fascinating. This is essentially the concept of a flag of convenience, right?
That's a great comparison.
Like how a cruise ship might be owned by an American company but registered in Liberia or Panama to avoid U.S. labor and tax laws.
It operates on a similar legal philosophy, but taken to an absolute extreme. In international waters on Earth, a ship is subject to the laws of the country whose flag it flies. Rook has essentially declared his ship its own country.
Wow.
And this legal loophole is not just a romantic gesture, it is an absolute necessity for survival.
Because Sola is illegal.
Highly illegal. If the wider galactic authorities found out about her, a highly advanced biological and synthetic hybrid, she wouldn't just be confiscated, she would be summarily executed.
It's a death sentence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her very existence is a capital offense.
And it's not just her. If the authorities board that ship, every single crew member who knows about her, including EZ and the human doctors on board, would be tried as an accessory to a capital offense.
The ship is, for all intents and purposes, a flying sanctuary for the condemned. Rook notes that everyone on board views every single person outside the ship's hull as a potential hangman.
That is so tense.
It is. This shared existential threat creates an incredibly tight-knit, fiercely loyal, and understandably paranoid community. They are united by the mutual necessity of absolute secrecy.
And the financial cost of maintaining this sanctuary is staggering. The text finally gives us a concrete number here. Sola cost nearly 200 million credits to create.
200 million.
200 million. And she isn't the only one. Rook has used his vast wealth to fund the creation of several other biomorphic replicants for his crew, some of whom have actually formed relationships with the human staff.
This completely reframes the economic warfare we just discussed. He isn't breaking planetary economies out of greed. He is single-handedly funding a shadow economy to support a new illegal branch of human synthetic evolution.
Wow.
He is the sole benefactor of an outlawed species.
And to protect this operation, he has to make alliances with some truly terrifying entities. Like, we learned that Rook maintains a top 100 rank in the syndicates of a figure named Archon Delane.
The pirate lord of the Pegasus sector.
Yeah, that guy. And Archon Delane is described as a brutal warlord who has managed to hold off the galaxy's major superpowers, the Federation and the Empire, for over 15 years.
Right. And Rook describes Delane's followers as collective genetic degenerates, so there is no ideological alignment here.
So why ally with a warlord if you were trying to protect your synthetic wife? It seems counterintuitive.
It is an arrangement of pure tactical necessity. Rook uses his combat prowess and his capital ship to bolster Delane's border systems, essentially acting as a heavily armed deterrent against the superpowers.
I protect your borders, you leave me alone.
Exactly. In return, Rook gets safe harbor in Delane's space and unimpeded access to black markets, all without ever compromising his own ship's sovereign status. Rook understands exactly what he's doing. He explicitly compares his former corporate employer, Senator Torval, to the ancient Roman senator Marcus Crassus.
Marcus Crassus, the man who crushed the Spartacus slave rebellion.
Exactly. Rook notes Torval's mastery of slaver politics and imperial court manipulation. Rook is a student of history. He is incredibly well-versed in how empires function, how they exert control, and most importantly, how they fail.
Which begs the obvious question. Why is someone this educated, this tactically brilliant, and this capable hiding out in the dark reaches of space manufacturing synthetic wives? Like, what happened to him?
A very dark past.
And the text finally gives us the backstory, and listener, it is brutally sad. We learn that Rook fought in the Second Thargoid War.
And for context, the Thargoids are a terrifying biomechanical alien species. The war against them was apocalyptic in scale.
Rook was an independent operator, a mercenary fighting on the absolute fringes of human space. He fought in these desolate, burning settlements. He witnessed the absolute worst horrors of interspecies warfare.
Horrific trauma.
But the devastating part is, it wasn't the aliens that broke his spirit.
No. It was the aftermath. Rook observes that humanity learned how to win, they defeated the alien threat, and then immediately, almost reflexively, returned to what human beings do best, falling on one another.
Just right back to the grind of war.
Yes, the infighting over resources, the political greed, the immediate betrayal of the alliances that saved them, the sheer trauma of the war, combined with his utter profound disgust for humanity's cyclical violence, drove him into self-imposed exile.
To a remote region called Colonia, he became a complete misanthrope. He just walked away from the species entirely. But as Rook notes in his own internal monologue, profound isolation and desire, when combined with massive, unlimited funding, is a dangerous combination.
Very dangerous.
He didn't want to be alone, but he couldn't trust a human being, so he bypassed humanity altogether. He bought companionship. He views human law as entirely illegitimate, because he views humanity itself as a fundamentally broken concept.
And that profound, agonizing alienation sets the stage for the most audacious part of the narrative. Having a biomorphic replicant wife and a fleet of loyal, condemned outcasts is just phase one.
Wait, there's more?
Oh, much more. To take the next step in his plan, Rook has to execute the ultimate heist. And the target is himself.
This is galaxy brain paranoia at its absolute finest. Okay, let's lay out the logistics. Rook needs highly specific, incredibly advanced scientific equipment and precursor chemicals.
Very specialized gear.
We're talking gear that, if any galactic authorities saw the shipping manifest, would instantly raise massive red flags about illegal genetic engineering and synthetic biology. So how do you get it without leaving a paper trail?
You utilize a double-blind purchasing structure. Rook uses his ship's advanced AI and that labyrinth of Night Corp shell companies we talked about earlier to legally purchase the equipment from legitimate manufacturers.
Right.
The entities buying the gear exist strictly on paper, registered in varying jurisdictions.
So the manufacturer gets paid in clean credits, and they ship the goods. But where do they ship them? If Rook gives them the coordinates to his capital ship, he's exposed.
Exactly. So he arranges for the delivery point to be a dead drop. He chooses an abandoned settlement far outside the bubble of human-inhabited space. Specifically, a settlement that was decimated and left irradiated during the Thargoid Wars.
Because nobody goes there. And then, while the civilian transport ships are en route to this dead drop, Rook takes his massive sovereign capital ship, jumps out of hyperspace, interdicts the transports, and violently steals his own legally purchased cargo.
It is a breathtaking operational security maneuver.
Yeah.
By physically attacking the shipment, he creates a verifiable narrative of random piracy.
It's just a pirate attack.
Right. He violently extracts the cargo, transfers it to untraceable smuggling ships, and leaves absolutely zero paper trail connecting his capital asset or his shell companies to the biological equipment.
And here's the genius part. He purposefully leaves the transport crews alive. He disables their engines, strips their cargo holds, but lets them live so they can return home and report the quote-unquote failure to the shipping conglomerate.
He weaponizes corporate public relations.
Yep.
He knows that the shipping company, having accepted millions in payment from a ghost company but failing to deliver the goods, will simply bury the incident.
To avoid looking bad.
Precisely. They won't launch an investigation because doing so would admit incompetence to their shareholders. He uses their fear of political and economic damage to guarantee their silence.
It is flawless execution.
Mm.
But during this heist, in the cargo bay, while they are loading these massive crates of genetic equipment, we get this profoundly moving, quiet exchange.
Ah, yes, between Easy and Sola.
Right. Easy, the android who processes the universe purely through taxonomy and algorithms, asks Sola a question about the ultimate purpose of this equipment. He asks, what species will the offspring of a merger between biological and synthetic DNA be considered?
Easy's looking for a clinical classification. He wants a new scientific nomenclature for the database.
But Sola doesn't give him one. She just watches the crates being secured, places a hand on the container, and says, our child.
It just strips away all the scientific jargon. It elevates their existence from a legal capital offense or a bizarre biological experiment into pure, simple humanity.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what the Federation courts call it. To her, it is family.
It's a beautiful moment of grounding before the chaos resumes. Because the lengths Rook goes to in order to protect this burgeoning family are borderline psychotic.
Oh, totally. Because after the heist, he needs to get his capital ship back to a safe hiding spot to actually begin the scientific work. But a ship that massive generates a huge energy signature when its frameshift drive jumps.
Right, it's like a beacon.
Yeah, if anyone is monitoring the sector, they'll see exactly where he goes. So what does he do? He flies directly to the border of Archon Delane space and intentionally starts a border war.
He returns to his old piratical ways for a few days, but this time he is sloppy on purpose.
Sloppy on purpose, yeah.
He intentionally leaves his transponder on near navigation beacons. He violently agitates a rival superpower's border patrols until they deploy a fleet to intercept him. And of course, an incursion of that size draws in Delane's allied warlords.
He literally sparks a localized war involving dozens of capital ships and hundreds of fighters. He gets two massive factions shooting at each other because, as he cynically puts it, it was human nature on display in its finest tradition.
He knows them so well.
He does. He says neither side cared about the cause, only that their foe was before them. And while the radar screens are completely whitewashed with explosions and weapons fire, his carrier slips away entirely unnoticed.
He uses the predictable tribal violence of humanity as a literal smokescreen. It demonstrates just how deeply he understands human flaws and how little regard he has for the political structures of the galaxy. He will burn a sector down just to cover his tracks.
So they escape. They're hidden in the deep black, cloaked by the relativistic jets of a dying neutron star. And we finally get to see what all this stolen, legally purchased equipment was for.
The science bay.
Yes, we enter the forward science bay of the carrier, and Rook describes it as looking like a Frankenstein laboratory. There are massive glass tubes, holographic genetic charts floating in the air, medical droids quietly monitoring streams of data.
He meets with Dr. Mayer, the ship's chief medical officer, and Dr. McGuire, who is a resident genomics expert and xenobiologist. They begin to explain the procedure they are about to attempt.
Which is wild.
The goal is to use advanced CRISPR-style genetic editing to combine Sola's synthetic traits, which, remember, were originally based on a human DNA template with human DNA to create an enhanced human child.
And Dr. Mayer is explaining this process, and the text notes he has this incredibly smug cat that ate the canary look on his face. Rook is standing there, arms crossed, barely following the complex biology, mostly just providing moral support for Sola.
Right.
And then, casually, Mayer drops a technical detail that completely shatters Rook's entire reality.
Mayer explains that the genetic splicing process is greatly facilitated by the fact that the human DNA they are using has been fully cleansed of its previous mutations because they are utilizing a cloned host.
A cloned host. The room goes dead silent. Sola immediately picks up on the phrasing. She steps forward and asks, so you want to clone him or me? And Dr. McGuire, who clearly did not want this revealed in such a flippant way, sighs heavily, looks Rook dead in the eyes, and says, you are a clone.
Let's really slow down and analyze this moment because it is the philosophical core of the entire narrative. The existential horror Rook experiences is immediate and absolute.
Oh, he snaps.
He does. He draws his weapon. He threatens the doctors. He demands to know if his life, his memories in his ship, and his love for Sola are all a fabricated lie. He threatens to throw Mare out the airlock.
Because the timeline suddenly snaps into terrifying focus for him. The original Rook, the mercenary who fought in the Thargoid War, he didn't escape unscathed. He suffered massive, irreparable physical damage from alien weaponry.
Advanced nanobots, the best medicine in the galaxy, none of it could save his biological body.
Right. So the original Rook went to Colonia, used his vast wealth to fund the creation of Sola, and simultaneously had a clone made of himself. An exact physical duplicate,
Right.
but with the DNA scrubbed clean of the war damage.
But the physical duplication isn't the shocking part. We're in a sci-fi universe. Cloning bodies is standard trope material. What elevates this is the cognitive aspect.
The memories.
Yes, Dr. Mare explains that it was an exact mental duplication, down to the neural pattern imprinting. Every single memory, every synaptic weight, every trauma of the war, every moment of falling in love with Sola was perfectly mapped and transferred into this new, healthy brain.
Except for one single memory.
Yes, the memory of making the clone.
The original Rook chose to selectively delete that specific memory from the transfer. So this Rook, the man whose head we have been inside for this entire story, woke up believing with absolute certainty that he was the original.
This directly invokes Derek Parfit's famous teletransportation paradox.
Remind us what that is.
If you step into a teleporter and it scans every atom of your body, destroys the original you, and perfectly rebuilds you on Mars, is the person on Mars you? Or did you die on Earth and a perfect replica who merely thinks they are you is now walking around on Mars?
That is exactly the dread Rook is feeling. He thinks he is a fake. But look at Sola's reaction. She doesn't gasp. She doesn't look betrayed. She steps between Rook and the doctors.
She defends.
She literally growls at them. The text says you could feel the venom in her words because she already knew. She's known this entire time.
She is a synthetic being. She understands artificial creation better than anyone.
She takes his hands. She tells him the most important line in the story. She says, "You didn't inherit his life. You continued it."
That phrasing completely redefines the concept of cloning. In almost all media, clones are treated as secondary. They are disposable copies, lesser versions of the prime.
Like cannon fodder.
Right. But Dr. McGuire steps in and delivers an incredible defense of what the original Rook did. She says the original Rook recognized he was dying. He wanted to extend a life he could no longer physically inhabit.
Wow.
He gave this new body his memories, his wealth, his ship, and his synthetic wife. McGuire tells Rook it was his gift to himself, or better yet to you, as himself.
To me, as himself, my brain was just doing flips reading this. Rook is pacing the lab, trying to make it make sense, trying to find an angle where this isn't complete ontological insanity. But McGuire drives the point home.
She does.
She tells him that using this DNA to have a child with Sola isn't a deviation from the original plan. It's continuity.
Continuity. That is the operative word. The original Rook recognized that his physical vessel was compromised, but his story, his mind, and his devotion to Sola were not finished.
Which brings us to the ultimate speculation of the deep dive. Why hide that one memory? If you're going through all this trouble, why not just let the clone know what he is?
I believe it was an act of profound mercy. Yes. If you know you are a copy, you are forever burdened with the ghost of the original. You suffer from imposter syndrome on a cellular level. You are always comparing your actions to what the primary source would have done.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
By removing that single data point, the memory of the cloning lab, the original Rook, allowed his clone to wake up, look at Sola, and love her without the crushing baggage of feeling artificial. He allowed the clone to live authentically as Rook.
It completely blurs the line between human and machine, between original and copy, into total irrelevance. If you have all the exact memories, all the precise emotional attachments, and the exact same continuous consciousness, the biological distinction of being a clone is just trivia.
Exactly.
It doesn't change the reality of his lived experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't make his love for Sola any less real.
It challenges everything we think about identity. We like things to be binary, broken or not broken, original or fake.
But the text argues that the continuity of the self can survive the death of the body. We started this journey, you and I, watching Rook buy literal garbage scrap metal just to annoy a bureaucratic inspector. And we ended up unraveling the very fabric of his soul in a Frankenstein lab orbiting a dead star.
It's quite the arc.
We've dissected economic sabotage, proxy pirate wars, sovereign shadow empires, and finally, a mind-bending truth about what makes us who we are.
The original Rook died in Colonia, but Rook is currently standing in a science bay, holding his wife's hand, preparing to have a child. Both of those statements are entirely true.
And that leaves us with a lingering thought for you to chew on today, our listener who sent us down this incredible rabbit hole. If every single one of your memories, your passions, your deepest fears, and your unhealed traumas were perfectly replicated into a brand new, flawlessly healthy body,
Right.
and you woke up tomorrow feeling entirely 100% like yourself, are you a new person inheriting a stranger's life? Or are you the exact same person, simply turning the page to continue the story? And honestly, if you truly couldn't tell the difference, would it even matter?